Betsy, and today we have a fun video. We're going to be testing out the new Melt Brunet palette. Now, as y'all know, I love Melt. I own every single Melt palette, and even though this isn't my normal color story, this is just an 8-pan warm neutral brown palette. I own every other Melt palette, so I wanted to add this to my collection. My husband ended up ordering this for me on June the 10th, and I received it on June the 14th. Our internet went down at work, and he's awesome and will buy palettes whenever I can't get a hold of them. This palette retails for $48. It is 100% vegan, and I am excited to play with this. You know, I've been loving more like neutral leaning palettes lately. I guess I go through phases of, do I want color, do I not? Y'all know how it goes. But yeah, again, I picked this up because I love Melt and I wanted to have the complete collection. Not because I really needed another neutral palette, because I just got Patrick Tall. But one thing I did notice that I love right here, if you look right in this area, it's hard to read it, but it does say, please blend responsibly. So cute, so cute. So we're gonna start off by swatching. This palette has 3 shimmer shades and 5 mattes. So the first shade is Suede. Ooh, that's nice. Did come up a little chunky, but it's okay. That is nice and soft. So Suede is a velvety smooth vanilla matte shadow. Brighten up your eyes by applying this shade to the inner corner. Then we have the shade Buff. Buff is the nudie peach that blurs the line between strong and soft, all while diffusing your eyeshadow for that perfect blend. Then we have the shade Cork. Cork is the golden tone in this sandy matte. Makes the perfect transition shade. Pop it into the crease for a seamless gradient. Then we have the shade Musk. Ignite your senses with this warm champagne shadow. That's Musk. That's pretty. With earthy tones of peach and gold, the foiled metallic texture applies effortlessly with the finger or a brush. Then we have Tan, which is a delicate but well-defined, gives your look some depth by packing this toasted cinnamon matte into the outer corner of your lid. So that's Tan. So those are pretty so far. Then we have Bourbon. Intoxicate yourself with this full body golden copper shadow. Apply all over the center of the lid using your finger for a smoldering eyes without the burn. Okay, so these shimmers are not as crumbly as Mary Jane. So that is Bourbon, I can already tell you that. Then we have Stout, a brassy metallic that's also feminine. Wash all over the lids, then blend brunette shadow into the crease for a bronze smoky look. So this is Stout. That's a beautiful color. There we go. And then last but not least is Brunet. Charm them with this dark and handsome rustic oak eyeshadow. Smudge into the lash line, focusing on the outer corner for a smoky cat eye. So this is Brunet. So that's all 8 of the shades. Again, it's nothing super special, and that's what I was trying to say, is this isn't like the most inventive palette ever, but not all palettes have to be. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you need a good neutral palette. You know, and the Patrick Tall was beautiful, but unless you use creams a lot, you know, 2 out of the shades, that makes it so much more expensive. I mean, and that palette already is pretty pricey. So we're gonna play with this. I am excited. I don't know how well some of these colors are gonna show up on my skin, but we're gonna find out. So I think I'm gonna set my primer today with the shade Suede. I did prime my eyes with the NARS Budge Proof or Smudge Proof eyeshadow primer in light. I should have done a deeper eyeshadow primer or one that matched my skin better, but you know. Right now this looks chalky and ashy, but I kind of figured it would be because this is so much lighter than everything on me. But I wanted to try as many shades as possible. This is only an 8-pan and it's a neutral palette, so I think we'll be good doing, you know, one look with it. But see, they blended out nicely. There's no chunkies. There is a ton of fallout, but that's not unusual for melt. So I'm gonna take and use the same brush. This is a BK Beauty 201, and we're going into the shade Buff, which is that peachy shade, to see if that actually adds any depth on my eye. Not seeing much of anything, but it's okay. So, I don't feel like there's enough of a difference between Buff and Suede to need both of them. Honestly, you know, especially when you're dealing with an 8-pan palette, you know, when you're swatching, this is Suede and this is Buff. I mean, Buff is definitely much more white, but I don't think that Suede is much more white, but I don't think that Buff is building up as much as I would like it to. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I can see it, but it's definitely not what I'm wanting. So now we're gonna go into the shade Cork. We're gonna try Cork. I don't know. So, and right now I am on the deeper end of medium right now. As you can see, I work out outside. I wear sunscreen aplenty. But because I'm outside, with the type of complexion I have, it doesn't matter how much sunscreen I apply, I always get a little bit of a tan. Okay, so Cork is showing up better. Still not my favorite. So I figured a lot of these weren't going to show up as much as I'd like to on my skin. You know, I think, as I said, the first two shades are not needed by me, but it's okay. Not every palette has to be my perfect palette. It just kind of depends on how everything goes together at the end. Because, I mean, I can see where you would need a shade like Suede, but I think it's too close, in my opinion, to Buff to need both of them. Like, you could have done away with one and made it like a really pretty light colored shimmer for the inner corner. Would have been great. I think it would have given the palette more balance as well. Okay, so that is Cork all over, but that one shows up at least, you know, and that's part of it. Is I want to be completely honest with y'all whenever I'm talking about eyeshadow, because I spend my hard-earned money on this, or my husband spends his hard-earned money on it, and I don't want to end up with crap, and I don't want y'all to buy crap because I suggested it. So next we're gonna go, this is a BK Beauty 202. We're gonna go into the shade Tan, and we're gonna concentrate that on the outer half of the eye. Now that shows up. And you can see I'm blending these with like no effort whatsoever. I mean, when Melt has their good formula, and this is the good formula, at least for the matte so far. Like, I'm not getting any patchiness. They're blending beautifully. So to me that says, yes, it's the good Melt matte formula. It doesn't get any better. I wish that they had better shimmers, but you know, we can all deal with things. But yeah, I mean, I want to make sure that, as I said, that if I'm recommending something to y'all or saying that I like something, I explain why I like it. And like, I feel like if you're anything deeper than me, or if you use like a medium eye base, those first 3 mattes aren't even really going to do much unless if you use it on your brow bone, and then it might look chalky because it's so white in comparison to like a medium skin tone. But yeah, you can see how easily that blended out. Looks good. Okay, we like that. Yeah, everything looks good. So now I'm going to take the same brush and we're going to go into the shade Brunet, which is that warm, deepest shade. We're excited, and use that to deepen up the outer corner. And see, I wish they would have gone like deeper. Like, to me, this is beautiful, but what I like in eyeshadow is I like a lot of depth, and I feel like this is lacking a little bit. You know, I mean, I don't know. I do know. So far, I mean, I think the quality is there. If you need a good neutral palette so far, I mean, like, I think that would be okay. But if you're buying it, like, I don't know. I guess so far what I'm thinking is if you're buying it for collection's sake, like I am, then you do you, boo-boo. If you're buying it because you need a good nude palette, I'm not sure if this would be the nude palette that I would recommend. So we'll put it that way. Like, I feel like if I were gonna choose a nude palette from Melt, ones that I actually like so far the better, that I consider more nude, are like the 27 palette and Mary Jane would definitely be two that I would recommend. Okay, so I've got my eye primer on. That is the Too Faced Glitter Glue. So we're gonna go into, and this is the Sigma E55 eye shading. We're gonna go into the shade Stout first. That picks up lovely on the brush. And as I said, these are not the crumbly at all. These are not crumbly in the least little bit. So that makes me happy. These metallics are performing, excuse me, great. But yeah, much better than normal. What do you think? And one thing I want to say is, like, I'm using this and I'm not seeing like any performance issues. We're going into this shade Bourbon now, that gold shade. Like, I'm definitely not seeing any performance issues. So I want to make that clear. Everything is performing up to the Melt standard that I love. But I just don't know if this is my favorite color story. I think that's the best way for me to put it. That does look pretty on the eyes though. Like, as I said, I don't think it's a bad palette. I just don't know if it's my favorite. But again, I bought it because I bought it for collection's sake. Are any of y'all like that? Like, I feel like if, like as I said, I own every Melt palette, love them. I have like all the big Norvina palettes, love them. I'm gonna take, this is a Sigma E33 and we're gonna go back into Brunet. But if it's a brand that I own all the motherships from Pat McGrath, all the quads from Pat McGrath. So if it's a brand I love, I end up buying a lot for collection's sake, even if it's not stuff I use all the time. Are y'all like that, or is that just me? So this is the top of the eyes done. As I said, I don't think it's bad. I think it actually looks really pretty. But let's go off camera. We're gonna do the rest of my face. We'll come back, do the lower lash line, and talk about my thoughts. So I'm back and I have the rest of my face on. I like it a whole lot better now since I have the rest of my makeup on, because it makes it feel more bronzy and summery. So I used the Glow Wish Tan Light Soft Radiance Bronzing Powder. I love this stuff. I used the Pat McGrath blush in Flirtatious. You would think that this would be too pale on me, but it really isn't. It's actually just a beautiful light pink glow. And then for highlight, I use Prosecco Pop from Becca because, you know, she needs to get some use. On my lips, I used Rare Beauty and Appreciate. This is one of those lip balms. Feels so freaking good. And then waterline, I used Pixie Eye Pencil in, I think this is Bronze Beam. Still a great eye pencil. But yeah, I do like the way that it looks much better now that I have the rest of my face on. So I'm gonna take, this is a Melt brush in, it doesn't say, this is from the Beetlejuice collection. My husband, whenever he ordered this, he was like, hey, do you want me to order you the set that has the brushes? And I was like, No. Okay, so they have two different sets that had brushes. One that had a 5-piece, and I think that was like 150 bucks. And then the one that had the 10-piece was $255 with the palette and the brush roll. And I was like, that's just too much money, especially since the melt brushes are not my favorite. But all in all, I mean, I think that the palette is a good neutral palette. It's not my favorite. I'm gonna take the shade Musk. I'm gonna try to use that lightest shimmer in my inner corner. Okay, that's not too bad. I think that works okay as the inner corner. Oh yeah. On my skin tone. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad palette. I actually think that this is probably one of the best melt palettes as far as consistency. Like all the mattes, all the shimmers, everything works the way that it's supposed to. So if you're looking for a neutral palette, I think that this is a good option, especially if you're paler than me or you don't want a whole lot of depth, if that makes sense. Like, I like the whole look. I think it turned out beautiful. I'm happy I have it because I collect melt, but is it anything really to write home about? No. So, I mean, hopefully that helps. I think it's good. I'll leave it linked, but I guess that's it. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button right down below. And if you hit the notification bell icon next to it, that will notify you when I post new videos, which is typically Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with some bonus content thrown in. And on Saturdays at 2 p.m. I do a live. So I guess that's it. We'll see y'all later. Bye.